Ethan Cole believed the night would pass like every other quiet shift on the station, slow, boring, and forgettable. The human research station, Haven 17, drifted in neutral space, far from Earth and even farther from any battlefield. It was a place for diplomats, scientists, and observers from dozens of alien species. Humans were still new to the wider galaxy, and most aliens preferred to keep them at a careful distance. Ethan understood why. Humans were unpredictable, emotional, loud by galactic standards. That suited Ethan just fine. He liked being invisible. He sat alone in his small room, lights dimmed, reviewing system diagnostics on his wrist console. The hum of the station was steady and calm. Artificial gravity pulled gently at his body. Everything felt normal. Then his door unlocked. Ethan frowned and looked up. His access panel blinked green, even though he had not touched it. That alone made his heart beat faster. Doors did not open by themselves. On Haven 17, security rules were strict. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Someone stood in the doorway. She was not human. Ethan froze. The figure was smaller than him, thin, wrapped in a loose silver garment that looked more grown than manufactured. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, with faint glowing patterns along her arms and neck. They pulsed slowly, like breathing light. Her eyes were large, dark, and filled with something Ethan recognized instantly: fear. She took one hesitant step inside his room. The door closed behind her. Ethan stood slowly, careful not to scare her. His mind raced through everything he had learned in orientation. Do not make sudden movements. Do not touch without permission. Do not raise your voice. The alien swallowed and spoke in broken galactic standard. Human, I need help. Her voice shook. She looked around the room as if expecting something terrible to appear from the walls. Ethan cleared his throat. You shouldn't be here, he said gently. This is a restricted human quarter. How did you get in? She didn't answer his question. Instead, she took another step closer, then stopped, hugging her arms to herself. Can I sleep next to you tonight? The words hit Ethan harder than any alarm could have. Sleep next to him? No alien had ever asked that. Most of them avoided humans completely. Some even seemed uncomfortable being in the same room. Ethan stared at her, confused. What? Her glowing markings flickered faster. Please, she said. Just tonight. Ethan looked at the door, then at his console. He should report this immediately. A Valori, if that's what she was, breaking protocol could cause serious trouble. Diplomatic trouble, security trouble, but she was shaking. He had seen fear before. Real fear. Humans had plenty of it during Earth's long history. That look in her eyes wasn't a trick or a test. It was panic held together by a thin thread. My name is Ethan, he said slowly. What's yours? She hesitated. Sarah. Her knees buckled. Ethan reacted without thinking. He crossed the distance and caught her before she fell. She was lighter than she looked. Almost fragile. She stiffened at the contact, then slowly relaxed when nothing bad happened. It's okay, he said. Sit down. He guided her to the small bed built into the wall. She sat on the edge, breathing fast, her lights flashing unevenly. What's wrong? Ethan asked. She stared at her hands. The station, she whispered. The experiment. Ethan frowned. The subspace resonance test? Her head snapped up. You know, everyone knows, he said. It's scheduled for tomorrow. Her lights flared bright, then dimmed. It will begin tonight. Ethan felt a chill. That's not possible. It was approved weeks ago. They moved it forward, Sarah said. Because of us. Ethan stayed quiet, letting her speak. My people are sensitive, she continued. Our minds resonate with subspace fields. We warned them. They said the risk was acceptable. Ethan clenched his jaw. He had heard that tone before: acceptable risk used by people who wouldn't suffer the consequences. What happens if you're exposed? He asked. Sierra's voice dropped to a whisper. We lose ourselves. pain, panic. Some never wake again. Ethan looked at his console. No alerts. No warnings. Everything still looked normal. "Why come to me?" he asked. Syra hesitated, then met his eyes. "Because humans are quiet." Ethan blinked. "Quiet?" "In the mind," she explained. "Your thoughts are loud, but steady. When we are near humans, the noise fades." That didn't sound scientific, but she was serious. "I ran," she said, "from my handlers. If they find me, they will return me to my quarters. I will be alone when it begins." Ethan exhaled slowly. This was above his pay grade, way above it. He could still call security. He should. That was the safe choice. But when he looked at Sarah, he saw someone who trusted him enough to break every rule she knew. "You can stay," he said quietly. Her lights pulsed softly, almost like relief. "Thank you, human Ethan." Ethan pulled a spare blanket from the storage unit and handed it to her. "Sit. Try to breathe slowly." She did as he said, watching him carefully, as if afraid he might change his mind. Minutes passed. Outside the room, the station remained calm, too calm. Then Ethan felt it, a faint pressure behind his eyes, like the air itself had shifted. Sayera gasped and clutched the blanket. Her lights flared bright and chaotic. "It's starting," she whispered. Ethan sat down on the bed, leaving space between them, but close enough that she didn't feel alone. "Focus on my voice," he said. "You're safe here." Her breathing was fast, uneven. She pressed closer without realizing it, her shoulder brushing his arm. Ethan didn't move away. The pressure increased. Lights flickered overhead. Ethan's console buzzed with a delayed alert. "Subspace field activation. In progress." He cursed under his breath. Somewhere in the station, alarms should have been sounding. They weren't. Sierra whimpered softly, her hands shaking. "It hurts." "I'm here," Ethan said. "You're not alone." He didn't know why that mattered. But he could feel something strange. Too, not pain, but awareness. Like standing near a storm without being touched by it. Sierra leaned fully against him now, her head resting against his shoulder. Her lights slowed, pulsing in time with his steady breathing. The door panel flickered red. Security was scanning the corridor. Ethan placed himself slightly between Sierra and the door, heart pounding. Whatever happened next, he knew one thing for certain. This night was not going to be forgotten. The pressure inside Ethan's head did not grow worse, but it did not fade either. It stayed like a distant hum, something he could notice only when he stopped focusing on Sierra. She leaned against him, trembling, her glowing markings flashing in uneven patterns. Each pulse looked like pain made visible. Ethan kept his breathing slow and steady. He had learned long ago that panic spread easily. If he stayed calm, maybe she could borrow some of that calm for herself. Outside the room, soft mechanical sounds passed by the door. Security drones. Their sensors hummed as they scanned each door along the corridor. Ethan knew they would notice the unauthorized life form in his room soon. When they did, they would not ask questions first. Sierra stirred. "The noise," she whispered. "It's everywhere." Ethan lowered his voice. "Listen to me instead." She nodded weakly, her eyes half closed. "Your thoughts. They are strange." "Strange how?" Ethan asked. "They move in lines," she said slowly, as if choosing words carefully. "Not circles. Not waves. Lines with direction." Ethan almost laughed, but stopped himself. "That's just planning," he said. "Humans do that a lot." Her lights flickered, then settled slightly. "It helps." The hum intensified for a moment, then stabilized. Somewhere, deep in the station, the subspace field generator reached full power. Ethan felt it like a change in air pressure before a storm. He wondered how many others were feeling far worse than he was. His console buzzed again. This time, a private message flashed across the screen. "Unauthorized energy signature detected. Localized." Ethan cursed quietly. They had narrowed it down to his section. He gently shifted so Sierra could lie more comfortably on the bed. She resisted at first, afraid to lose contact. but he stayed close, sitting at her side. "I'm not going anywhere," he said. Her fingers tightened around the blanket. "They will take me." "Not if I can help it," Ethan replied. That was a bold thing to say, and he knew it. He was a systems analyst, not a hero. He didn't carry authority or weapons. All he had was a quiet room and a decision he had already made. A sharp knock sounded at the door. "Human Ethan Cole," a mechanical voice said. "Open the door." "This is station security." Sayara flinched. Her lights flared again, spiking wildly. Ethan stood up slowly. "Stay here," he whispered. He stepped toward the door, keeping his body between Sayara and the sensors on the other side. He opened the door just enough to speak. Two security drones hovered outside, their metallic frames reflecting the corridor lights. Behind them stood an alien officer from a species Ethan didn't recognize, tall and rigid, eyes glowing with artificial enhancement. "State the reason for the unauthorized energy readings in your quarters," the officer said. Ethan forced himself to stay calm. "I don't know," he lied. "I felt a pressure, but I assumed it was part of the test." The officer's gaze shifted, trying to see past Ethan. "Our sensors indicate a Valori life form." Ethan shook his head. "There's no one else here." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Step aside." Before Ethan could respond, Sayara cried out softly from the bed. The sound was weak, but unmistakable. The officer stiffened. There, Ethan knew the moment had arrived. There was no more hiding. "She's hurt," Ethan said firmly. "You can't move her right now." "That is not your decision," the officer replied. "The Valori delegation has requested immediate containment." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. "Containment won't help her. She needs stability." The officer hesitated. "Explain." Ethan took a breath. "She told me your experiment affects her species. Being near humans reduces the effect." The officer's eyes flicked to the drones, then back to Ethan. "That is not in our data." "Then your data is incomplete," Ethan said. The officer paused, clearly weighing options. Finally, he raised a hand. "We will scan." A drone floated forward, projecting a soft blue field into the room. Sayara whimpered as the scan passed over her. Her lights spiked, then calmed again. When Ethan spoke her name, "She's stabilizing," Ethan said. "You can see that." The officer studied the readings appearing on a small display. His posture changed slightly. "Her neural activity is lower than expected." Ethan nodded. "Because she's not alone." The officer remained silent for several seconds. Then he said, "We will inform medical." He turned to leave, then stopped. "Human Ethan Cole." "Yes? You are assuming responsibility." Ethan didn't hesitate. "I already have." The door closed. The drones drifted away. Ethan let out a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His legs felt weak as he returned to the bed. Sayara looked up at him. "You argued with them." "Someone had to," he said. Her lights pulsed softly. "Thank you." Time passed slowly after that. The hum of the subspace field continued, constant and heavy. Sayara drifted in and out of restless sleep. Each time her breathing quickened, Ethan spoke quietly to her, grounding her with simple words, names, numbers, ordinary things. He talked about Earth, about rain and wind and nights when storms rattled windows but never quite broke through. He didn't know if she understood the images, but his voice seemed to help. Hours later, Ethan's console chimed again. Subspace field, unstable. Ethan frowned. That wasn't good. The station lights dimmed, then brightened again. Somewhere, something went wrong. Sayara's eyes flew open. She gasped, clutching his sleeve. Her lights flared painfully bright. "It's breaking," she cried. They pushed it too far. Ethan felt the pressure spike sharply. His head throbbed. Alarms finally began to sound throughout the station, delayed and chaotic. "Medical emergency declared," a voice echoed faintly through the corridors. Ethan's console flooded with alerts. Species after species reported neural distress. Panic spread faster than any virus. Sierra struggled to sit up. Others are hurting. I know, Ethan said. Just focus on staying with me. She shook her head. Humans. There are not enough. Ethan stared at her. What do you mean? You're calm, she said urgently. Your minds. Others need it. Ethan looked at the door, then back at Sarah. A terrible realization formed in his chest. They hadn't asked humans for help. They had underestimated them. Ethan opened his console and activated a broad channel override. Something he technically wasn't authorized to do. This is Ethan Cole, he said into the station-wide channel. His voice trembled, but he continued. If you are human, and you can hear this, stay calm. Others may come to you. Don't push them away. He hesitated, then added, just stay with them. Sarah watched him, eyes wide. You would risk punishment for this? Ethan met her gaze. People are hurting. Her lights shifted, forming a slow, steady rhythm. That, she said softly, is why we survive near you. The alarms continued, but something else began to spread too. Not panic, connection. And in that small room, amid flickering lights and distant chaos, Ethan realized that humanity's role in the galaxy had just changed forever. The station no longer felt like a place of order. Haven 17 shook with uneven vibrations, as systems struggled to keep up with the damage spreading through its core. Lights flickered without rhythm. Emergency announcements overlapped in different languages, creating confusion instead of guidance. Inside Ethan's room, the air felt heavy, as if the walls themselves were listening. Sierra sat upright now, no longer shaking as badly, but her glowing markings still pulsed with stress. Ethan remained close, steady and alert, his mind racing through possibilities. He had sent the message. Humans across the station would hear it. Some would understand, some would panic, but at least now they knew they were needed. A soft chime sounded at the door. Ethan stiffened. He moved toward it carefully and opened it just enough to look outside. A human woman stood there, wearing a medical officer's uniform. Her face looked pale, but her eyes were focused. Are you Ethan Cole? She asked. Yes, he replied. I'm Dr. Lena Morales, she said quickly. Medical Command traced your broadcast. They want answers. But more importantly, they want results. She glanced past him and saw Sarah. Her expression changed from suspicion to surprise. Is that a Valori? She is, Ethan said. And she's stable. Dr. Morales stepped inside, the door sealed behind her. We're seeing something strange, she said. Patients from several species show reduced symptoms when humans are nearby. Not just Valori. Others too. Ethan nodded. Sarah warned me. Sierra looked at the doctor, then spoke softly. Your kind quiets the storm. Dr. Morales blinked. That's one way to put it. Another tremor passed through the station. Somewhere far away, metal groaned under stress. We're running out of time, the doctor said. The subspace field is degrading neural stability across half the station. We can't shut it down immediately, without risking a core collapse. Ethan clenched his jaw. So what's the plan? Dr. Morales took a breath. We place humans near affected species, as many as possible. Calm presence. Physical proximity where allowed. Ethan looked at Sarah. She said there aren't enough humans. Dr. Morales nodded grimly. That's the problem. Humans make up less than 12% of the station population. Sarah's lights dimmed slightly. Then, you must choose. Ethan turned to her. Choose what? Who you stay with, she said. And who you cannot. The words landed heavily. Before Ethan could respond, his console chimed again. A priority message appeared. Security Command requests your immediate presence. Central Hub. Dr. Morales sighed. They're not happy about you overriding channels. Ethan stood. I'll go. Sarah's hand tightened around his sleeve. Her lights flickered with worry. If you leave, I'll come back, he said firmly. I promise. Dr. Morales looked at Sarah. She should come with us. Medical needs her data. Sarah hesitated, then nodded slowly. As long as I stay near him. The corridors of Haven 17 looked nothing like they had hours earlier. Aliens of many forms sat or lay against walls, some trembling, some crying out in unfamiliar sounds. Human crew members moved among them instinctively, offering water, speaking softly, placing steady hands where allowed. Ethan saw it happening everywhere. Humans kneeling beside beings much larger than themselves. Humans sitting quietly next to creatures that once avoided them. Humans doing nothing heroic at all, just staying. At the central hub, tension filled the air. Alien officials argued loudly. Security officers moved back and forth, overwhelmed. Screens displayed cascading failures and medical alerts. A tall alien stepped forward as Ethan entered. This one wore the markings of high authority. "You," the alien said sharply. "Human Ethan Cole." Ethan met the gaze calmly. "Yes, you violated protocol," the alien continued. "You interfered with a classified experiment." Ethan did not deny it. People were getting hurt. The alien's eyes flicked to Sierra. "This Vylori should not be here." Sierra straightened despite her fear. "I am alive because I am here." Dr. Morales stepped forward. "We have medical evidence," she said. "Humans are reducing neurological stress across multiple species." The alien hesitated. "That is unexpected." Ethan spoke again. "You built an experiment, assuming everyone reacts the same way. They don't." The alien's posture stiffened. "And you assume your species is the solution?" Ethan shook his head. "No. We're just present." Another officer rushed in. "The secondary field is collapsing. If we don't stabilize neural feedback, casualties will increase." The room fell silent. The high-ranking alien looked around, then back at Ethan. "What do you propose?" Ethan took a breath. He felt the weight of the moment settle on him. "You stop trying to fix this alone," he said. "You let humans help." "By doing what?" the alien demanded. "By staying," Ethan replied simply. "Pair humans with affected individuals. No experiments, no machines, just proximity." The alien looked uncertain. "That is not a standard medical approach," Dr. Morales spoke quietly. "Neither was this experiment." Seconds passed. The alarms continued to echo. Finally, the alien raised a hand. "Authorize it." Relief washed through Ethan's chest. Orders went out across the station. Humans were directed to remain where they were, to sit with those in distress, to keep communication open and calm. The effect was not immediate, but it was visible. Medical readings began to stabilize. Panic eased in small pockets. Breathing slowed. Lights on alien skin patterns softened. Sierra watched the data screens with wide eyes. "It's working." Ethan nodded. "Because you trusted us." Sierra looked at him. "Because you did not run." Hours passed in exhaustion and quiet effort. Humans stayed awake longer than usual, pushing past fatigue without complaint. Some slept sitting up, leaning against walls. Still close enough to help, Ethan remained near the central hub, Sierra beside him. He felt drained but steady, like a pillar that didn't know it was holding weight until much later. Eventually, a new announcement echoed through the station. Subspace field shutdown successful. Neural stability improving. A wave of relief swept through the hub. Some aliens slumped with exhaustion. Others watched the humans with something new in their eyes. Respect. The high-ranking alien approached Ethan again, slower this time. "Your species acted without instruction," the alien said. Ethan shrugged. "That's normal for us. You did not demand authority," the alien continued. "You did not seek control. We just didn't want people to suffer," Ethan said. The alien studied him. "The assembly will want answers." Ethan met the gaze evenly. "Then tell them the truth." Sierra stepped forward, standing beside Ethan despite her weakness. "Tell them humans do not fix fear," she said. "They endure it." Silence filled the space around them. In that moment, Ethan understood something profound. Humanity had not proven itself by force, intelligence, or technology. They had proven themselves by staying present, when others could not. And the galaxy would never forget that. The station slowly returned to a shape that could be called normal, though nothing truly felt the same anymore. Haven 17 still drifted in the same quiet region of space. Its metal halls still curved and polished. Its systems still hummed with controlled energy. But the feeling inside those walls had changed. Ethan Cole had not slept. He sat in a simple chair near the central medical wing, his back against the wall, eyes half open. Around him, exhausted humans and aliens rested wherever they could. Some leaned against one another without thinking about species or protocol. Others sat quietly, processing what they had survived. Saira lay on a medical bed nearby. Her glowing markings were dim now, slow and steady, no longer sharp with pain. A human nurse adjusted a sensor on her wrist and smiled softly. "She's stable," the nurse said. "Fully stable." Ethan nodded. Relief settled into him like warmth after a long, cold night. Sayara opened her eyes and looked at him. "You stayed awake." "So did you," Ethan replied. Her lights brightened slightly. "Because you were here." Word of the incident spread faster than anyone expected. Even with security filters and data locks, fragments escaped. Medical logs, personal recordings, witness accounts. Too many people had seen what happened to erase it completely. Across the station, aliens whispered about humans in new ways. They spoke of humans who sat quietly through chaos. Humans who did not overwhelm sensitive minds. Humans who did not need special training to help only patients. Within a day, a formal inquiry was called. The Galactic Assembly convened in a shared chamber aboard Haven 17. Representatives from dozens of species appeared in person or through holographic projection. The atmosphere was tense, but different from before. Less dismissive, more cautious. Ethan stood near the back of the chamber, wearing a simple uniform, hands clasped behind him. He did not feel important. He felt tired. Sayra stood beside him. Some members of the assembly looked uneasy at her presence. Others watched her with curiosity. The high-ranking official who had authorized the experiment spoke first. "The subspace resonance test was approved by consensus," the official said. "Risk projections were within acceptable limits." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Sayra stepped forward before Ethan could stop her. Her voice was soft, but it carried. "Acceptable," she said, "for those who do not feel the pain." Silence followed. She continued, choosing her words carefully. "My people warned you. You recorded our warnings. You calculated our suffering." The official stiffened. The intent was progress. Ethan found himself speaking. "Progress doesn't mean much if people don't survive it." Several human delegates nodded quietly. Medical data filled the air as holograms activated. Dr. Morales presented the findings. Charts showed sharp spikes in neurological distress among multiple species, followed by visible drops when humans were present nearby. "This was not planned," she said. "It was discovered by accident. Humans acted on instinct, not instruction." A representative from a crystalline species spoke. "Your kind did not overpower the anomaly." "No," Dr. Morales replied. "We didn't." Another alien asked, "Then what did you do?" Ethan answered simply, "We stayed." The chamber fell quiet again. The assembly debated for hours. Responsibility was assigned. Restrictions were discussed. Apologies were offered, some sincere, some careful, and political. But something else was happening too. Requests began to appear. Not demands, requests. Several species asked for human presence during recovery. Others asked for human advisors during high-stress negotiations. Medical teams asked for human volunteers during neurological treatment. Humans were no longer just observers. They were anchors. Ethan found himself overwhelmed by attention. Messages flooded his console. Praise. Questions. Warnings. Invitations. He ignored most of them. Instead, he returned to his room. It looked exactly the same as before. Small, quiet, unimportant. Except it wasn't. Sayra stood in the doorway, hesitant. "May I come in?" Ethan smiled faintly. You don't need to ask anymore. She entered slowly, looking around. This place, she said, is where everything changed. Ethan leaned against the wall. For you? For all of us, she replied. She sat on the edge of the bed, thoughtful. The assembly has offered my people protections. Oversight. Changes. That's good, Ethan said. They did not do it out of kindness, Sarah added. They did it out of fear. Fear can still change things, Ethan said. Sarah studied him. Humans do not fear fear. Ethan chuckled quietly. We do. We just live with it. A soft chime interrupted them. A priority message appeared. Human Liaison Program. Request for volunteers. Ethan stared at the words. Sarah watched his face. They will ask you to go. They already are, Ethan said. You don't have to, she said quickly. You've done enough. Ethan thought about that. About the night. About the quiet strength he hadn't known he carried. I think, he said slowly, this is just the beginning. The liaison program moved fast. Humans were stationed in embassies, research centers, and crisis response teams across neutral space, not as guards, not as leaders, as presence. Reports followed. Negotiations lasted longer but ended more peacefully. Medical recoveries improved. Panic events decreased when humans were nearby. Some species still distrusted humans. Some feared dependency. But none could deny the results. Weeks later, Ethan stood in the observation deck, watching stars slide past as Haven 1-7 prepared for its next phase. Sarah stood beside him, stronger now, her lights calm and beautiful. My people have a word for humans now, she said. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? She smiled in her own quiet way. No. It means those who remain when others leave. Ethan let the words sink in. Below them, the station moved forward into its future. Changed by a simple truth no algorithm had predicted. Humans did not need to be the strongest. They only needed to stay. And sometimes, that was enough to save the galaxy.